Welcome to Mission Majjhima. Ajahn. So Ajahn, tell us about the Cetokhila Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 16, the wilderness of the heart.
So in this discourse, the Buddha talks about three different sets or three different frameworks. The first being wildernesses of the heart, also translated as hard-heartedness, heart dryness of the heart. The second being a list of 5 shackles or bondages of the heart, and the third being the 4 iddipadas or powers of mind. So the first, the wildernesses of the heart, this hard-heartedness, are the ways that the heart can get dry. This is lacking faith in the teacher, i.e. lacking faith in the Buddha, lacking faith in the Dhamma, lacking faith in the Sangha, lacking faith and confidence in the training, and then denigrating and looking down on one's spiritual companions. These are all ways which, if one has these in oneself, if you don't have this level of faith, then it impedes one's capacity to put forth effort. The second list are the shackles or the bondages of the heart. The Buddha points to 5: attachment to sensuality, attachment to the body, attachment to form, indulging in food, and that leading to sleepiness. And then the 5th bondage or shackle of the heart is practicing in a way which will lead to a heavenly rebirth. And Piatan points out that these, in opposition to the dryness, the aridity of heart, these are like mental sogginess. This is like if you have too much sensuality or attachment to body, attachment to form, food, sleep, thinking of heavenly realms, this kind of ladens the heart. It makes the heart soggy, drippy, overfull. And then the third list that the Buddha points to are these 4 iddipadas or spiritual powers. Those being the spiritual power which is desire, the spiritual power of, so that first one is chanda, the next one is virya or energy, effort, the third is chitta or mind, and the 4th is vimamsa or reflection. So these are ways of powers associated with concentration. And the Buddha adds a 5th to get a full 15 count of being usolhi or enthusiasm, zeal, desire for practice. And then the Buddha gives this great simile of if one has these 15 qualities, i.e. has gotten rid of the first 10 and has cultivated the last 5, then even if one doesn't desire to attain liberation, one will attain liberation, just as chicks in their shell, like these little baby chickens in a shell, even if one doesn't want them to come out, they'll break out of their shells in time. So Ajahn, what are your takeaways? What did you find most interesting from the sutta?
I appreciate you laying out the framework of the 5, or the 3 sets of 5. And yeah, there's other suttas where the first 2 arise, the Cetokhila, the wilderness or barrenness of heart, and other suttas where the fetters of the heart or the bondages also come, but they're almost always adjacent to one another, even when they're in separate suttas. And the relation of the 2 I find very interesting, where if the heart is dry, if you aren't getting a sense of joy and nourishment from faith, that the mind inevitably goes looking for that faith in the soggy places, like you said, in sensuality, in eating as much as one likes, all these things. And that dynamic is really important to note, I think. I also appreciate Cetokhila Kila is defined in the commentaries as a piece of land that even if it's rained on for 4 months will not give rise to any vegetation or growth. And that number 4 months, I mean, it's the traditional length of a season in Indian thought, but also it's just an interesting time metric for like when you take on a new practice or a new way of living or a new situation. I find 4 months is kind of a good length of time to really try something before you know, okay, I'm watering my heart with this and it's still dry. Like something else should be, I need to try something different, basically. The other thing I'd kind of maybe draw out is just the primacy of harmony in the Sangha, how it's right up there as an expression of faith, with faith in the triple gem and the training. The fifth is one dwells, one doesn't have this anger and aversion towards one's companions in the spiritual life. And there are suttas where the Buddha says that when there's disagreement in the Sangha, that one should reflect, if the teacher knew, would he censure that without giving up conflict like this? Attaining nibbana is not possible. And just that idea that when we lean into harmony, when we relinquish these grounds for argument and aversion, it's an expression of our love of the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha. Like, it's our way of showing faith. I find that so beautiful. And there's just some amazing suttas where that really gets brought up, like the Chula Gosinga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 31, where the Buddha goes to these three monks who are all living in concord and blending like milk and water, and asks how they do it. And Venerable Anuruddha and Venerable Kimbila and one other monk basically say, I think, why don't I give up what I want to do and do what these other venerable ones want to do? And it's such a powerful teaching that it's one of the few points in the canon where at the end, the whole 10,000-fold world system quakes, and there's an echo all the way up to the highest Brahma realms. And for me, that's like a way of accentuating the importance of harmony. So I love that aspect. What else would you draw out, Ajahn, in this sutta?
Well, just to note, so going through the Majjhima from beginning to end, as we've done, we've been gaining momentum, and we've learned a lot of structures and frameworks so far. And you can use, as you're relating to new suttas, all the different frameworks and structures, ways of thinking from previous suttas. So I would suggest bringing, at least this is how I was conceiving of this sutta, in the previous sutta, Majjhima 15, this idea of inference, looking at other people and seeing what's beautiful or ugly about their practice, their way of living, their way of interacting in community, and saying, if I did that, it would also be ugly or beautiful. And here, I just find it so true. Every group that I've been in, whether it's Buddhist or not, whether it's lay or monastic, you see these tendencies and the aridity of heart that comes from lacking faith in whatever the object, or of being angry and displeased, callous towards the other people who are practicing. It just leads to the face even just contorts into this scowl and also the sogginess, specifically of resorting to food and sleep. As renunciates in a Buddhist tradition, we give up so many aspects of sensuality, and really food and sleep are two things which are still left to us. And you just see this pattern, and that the Buddha pointed to it so clearly. The Buddha couldn't have set up rules that saying, oh, you can't eat food and you can't sleep. Humans, we have to eat and we have to sleep. And so it is you can't relate to it just as black and white rules, but just as a training. And that the Buddha pointed out, this is a way that the heart can get soggy, just brings a lot of gratitude. And so is there anything else you'd like to draw out of the sutta, or ways that you've used it in your own life?
I love you pointing to the sogginess of heart. That's so perfect. And just the Buddha pointing out this indulging in sleep and talk. Actually, one of the Chinese parallels says one delights in the market rather than in places of seclusion. To note also that of those 5 Cetokhila, the wildernesses or drynesses of the heart, the first 4 are the opposites of the 4 Sottapattiyangani, the factors of stream entry. Unshakable faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the training. And the 5th of aversion towards one's fellows in the holy life or companions. If you don't have the ability to get mutual feedback and support, then how can those first 4 come to fruition? And then just the Buddha pointing to how even if a mother hen might not think, may my chicks hatch, that they will hatch. Similarly, even if we're not constantly fixated on the goal and craving for it, that our duty is to focus on the causes, and like Longpo Cha said, to water the plant and to trust that it will grow of its own accord. And there's a great other sutta called the Ship, the Nava Sutta, where not only does the Buddha invoke that analogy, but also says that just as a carpenter using an adze might not realize, oh, today my fingers wore away this much of it, and today my fingers wore away this much, that even so, after a number of days, they could look at the handle and see the imprints of their fingers. And just that sense of gradual movement actually occurring throughout our practice is very heartening.
Well, the word of the week, let's do that, is sikha, which means training. And it has implications in Pāli of the training in morality, the training in higher mind, and the training in higher wisdom. It's related to the Thai word siksa, which means education. So a really useful word to know.
Thank you, Ajahn. And
Thanks, Ajahn.
if you're joining us on Sunday, we'll see you over on Zoom just about now. And otherwise, we'll see you next week for Majjhima Nikaya 17.